right, hello and welcome. How is everyone doing tonight? I'm Life with Matthew, and with me, as always, is John DiMarco. How are you doing tonight,
Hello.
John?
Good, thanks. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. And I knew something was going to be wrong. Apparently, my microphone is all messed up. The little audio portion right there, which you can't see. It sounds great to you. It's not affecting the sound. It's just it's annoying me because visually it's supposed to move with what I say, and it's not. I knew it would be something, but as long as it's that, I mean, that's not too bad. I shouldn't fuss about it. I say that I'm literally going to the source to fuss about it.
That figures.
I'm so OCD about it. I shouldn't be, but I see it, I'm like, oh, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. And it's not alphabetical either. I don't understand this. So in OBS, it's like, select your audio source for this. And it goes overlay 2, movie nights, overlay 2, number 2, bike stream. Like, why don't you just put it 1, microphone main? I labeled it alphabetically precisely because I wanted it alphabetical. I'm weird like that. Anyways, hello everyone. How are you tonight? 47 Yorktown. How are you doing? Letting everyone know that yes, Darwin is back in this episode. There's a lot of things in this episode that are back.
Indeed. And apparently there's some green on your hair, according to Thomas.
I believe it. I mean, I could see how that looks greenish. I could try to fix it, but I'd also probably just break it. Dare probably. I try? I tried. Yeah, that is a little greenish. So it's a chroma key setting. It just see if I go too far, it does get rid of the green, but then I risk losing other parts of me. But yeah, you know, we'll do that. That looks a little bit, just a little bit better. Thank you so much, Thomas, and thank you to John for being here. Someone can read the chat. See, it's such a catch-22. Like I get on a subject and I rant about it. I'm like, okay, well now I need to keep reading the chat, but I don't want to skip over chats because that gets me in trouble. So I have my spot saved in the chat. Meanwhile, something I was saying on the rant, you know, something like Jeffrey Coombs being Matthew Jeffries, getting some Jeffries mixed up, and everyone's responding to that. And I'm an hour away from getting to those comments, apparently. Oh, you just can't win sometimes. 54.5 Access Radio, how are you doing tonight? Sci-Fi Nation, glad that you're here. Salty must be mad at Matthew for having Laura on when Matthew's being humble and waiting another 6 minutes. No, I just was running late. Amy had a ladies event tonight. It was supposed to be a pool party for all the ladies at our church, and they got rained out. So I saw she was headed home, about to get here, so I'm weird like this. I stuck around so I could talk to her like 15 minutes before coming on and doing the stream, even though I'll see her when all this is said and done. I'm weird like that. I'm sorry.
Well, you can't help being weird. We understand. Or at least we're used to it.
There we go. Used to it, yes.
That's better.
Yes. Oh, wow. I wish it was me being humble. I appreciate that you saw me in good light, Sci-Fi, but the truth is I was just I was being a bad YouTuber. I'm like the worst YouTuber out there. There are people who have like a microphone that sounds like a cat gargling, and they are 100% better than I am on YouTube, meeting deadlines, reading chats. I don't know.
And yes, Thomas, he's blaming his wife again.
No. Little. No comment. That's something Michael and I talked about today. The importance of remembering that you can say no comment in life. Because...
And Sci-Fi was asking... Sorry.
Oh, go on. No, go ahead.
Sci-Fi was asking what programs you're using to show the episode.
Okay, so for showing the episode, all I do is I use OBS Studio, and I add a media source, and I play that media source. For getting it... Darn it, I said this last week, Sci-Fi. This week, someone hold me to the fire for this. This week, I will do another upload for my YouTuber series, or my streaming series. And I'm going to go over a program that I wrote and I'll upload, or I think I put on GitHub. So I'll show how to download that, what you need so that you can, it's literally you open up command prompt. So it's Windows only. You know what? I wrote it in Python. It could work in anything. It's cross-platform. You open it up, you say, run this program, here's the file I want you to use. And it will grab one frame every 5 seconds and do a crossfade over it. So that's all I use to do this. And then I need to do a second one talking about some plugins I use that you'll probably find very useful. I'm really bad at making videos. I made a video this week. A series that we'll see how many I do for it, but called The Gamer's Bin. I had so much fun. It's been so long since I actually made a video and uploaded it to YouTube, and I had a tremendous amount of fun doing it. I need to get back to doing more of those videos. Because, don't get me wrong, this is fun. Hang out with y'all is great. Hang out with John is wonderful. Doing the pub, which yes, the pub will be back to usual in just a couple of weeks here, once they get all the remodeling done. I love it. But man, there's just something about a produced video that's really fun to do. Then everyone's asking, am I going to start after salty ends? No, I'm not. Unless coincidentally I did. I wasn't planning on it. Professor Brainy Specs, how are you doing? Saying, have a good show. Oh, I hope you're still here, Jeff. We like having you around.
Yes.
Okay, so let me go ahead and drop the link to SciTube. Be somewhat on top of things here, and then I will pin that, and we'll get going here tonight, guys, because this is the way it works. I think that most of you are aware of how this goes, but just in case you are one of these people who this is one of your first times out here, this is the way it goes down. The link that I just dropped into the chat, and unfortunately I can't pin this over in Twitch, so sorry, Twitch people watching in the future, but over in YouTube, I have now pinned this message to the top. Click there, come to our screening room. What this does, it allows you to watch my copy all synced up at the same time. So this is effectively as if we all went over to Peacock TV and we said, okay, everyone hit the play button in exactly 5 seconds. We all had our watches synchronized and we all hit that play button together at the same time. This just makes it so that it's the one synchronizing all of our accounts together so that we can watch this. You don't have to have anything, like you don't have to download anything for this. You don't have to sign up for anything for this. This just synchronizes everything together and it is wonderful. If, however, you're in the future, like as soon as this stream ends, this link will no longer let you watch anything. You can only watch this video while we are watching it right now. So if you're here in the future and you want to watch it, go buy it. You can buy it. They're pretty cheap on Amazon. I think we said they're about $20 to $30. You can buy the entire Blu-ray set apparently for more like $80 if that's something you want to do. Or you can go to peacocktv.com right now, sign up for their 100% free account, and be able to stream all 3 seasons of SeaQuest. And unlike other companies out there, CBS, NBC is actually really cool about this. Maybe it's because John and I get up here every week and we talk about how great they are. But CBS, the reason you can't see last night's virtual pub, where I went over the 2 trailers, the Prodigy and the Lower Decks trailer, is because CBS said, oh, I'm sorry, you're talking about our trailer and going over stuff. We don't like free publicity. We're freaking CBS. We don't need this. And they took it down. And they didn't just say, well, we're going to take any money that you get from it, which I don't get any money. I'm a small channel, so I wouldn't get anything anyway. They said we blocked it globally, like all across the world. You cannot watch this because for a minute, our minute-long trailer was in it. I'm like, are you kidding me? It blows my mind that this is how YouTube does things, that they give people this power, which is completely ignoring fair use, which is 100% what I was doing since like I literally talked over every second of the trailer, and it turned out I had the volume level down too low. Even if I wasn't talking over every second, you still wouldn't have been able to hear anything because I had the volume too low in OBS. And you could have tried to tell me, but guess what? I was an hour behind in the chat, so I wouldn't have known. Oh gosh, I am the worst.
But seriously, you'd think they'd want people to watch their trailer.
You would think
But
so.
apparently they don't.
And you would think, like, okay, I understand if I'm showing the entire episode, where even if I'm talking over the entire episode, but I'm showing every single frame at a glorious 60 frames a second, then I could see why you'd be upset about that, because I'm literally showing the whole thing. But it's a trailer that you uploaded to YouTube that you want people to watch, and you want people to be talking about this trailer, and then you get mad that people are talking about the trailer. Like, I don't get you. I don't get you, CBS, Paramount, whoever you are now. All that of which is to say, go support Peacock TV. They are wonderful people. They one time they did a claim against my video, and all it wasn't even a we're blocking everything. It was just, we're going to take any monetization off of this, which I thought was pretty fair. But then I said, hey, you know what? I'm just providing commentary, and if you don't want to come to our screening room, or you only have one device on you, like you're watching on your phone right now, we provide stills. So right here, once every 5 seconds, I change the still, and it's just a single image. And I said, hey, I provide this image just as a reference as we talk about your show. And they released it in 2 days. 2 days is all it took for them to say, you know what, we are A-okay with this. And I was floored. I was 100% floored that they were so cool about it. So NBC, way to be regular, decent people. I am thoroughly impressed with you. Arvik Sonder is wondering if we remember C-Lab 2020. Was that the cartoon show on Cartoon Network?
Yeah, I've heard of it, but I never saw it. He said it was an Adult Swim.
Yes, I do remember it. It was in the same vein as Aqua Teen Hunger Force and Archer. Or no, Archer. I don't think Archer has that same. Regardless, it wasn't my cup of tea. I do remember it, but I didn't really. Like, the humor just didn't land for me. Sci-Fi Nation is saying that YouTube, you can review, discuss, and criticize as long as there's talking over the media in question or pauses and short breaks. Also, YouTube, that's copyright. Quick call. Exactly. And I'll say this, like, it wasn't a manual review. This was an automatic strike they did, simply because I think there's 2 points where I had been pausing and rewinding and going back and forth, and there were 2 points, one for each of the 2 trailers, where I allowed it to go like 10 seconds before I paused, and that was the line. That was, oh gosh, that was 1 second too long in CBS's opinion. Anywho, I don't mean to be.
Arabic is eager to get to our Darwin-centric episode.
Yes, Arabic. That's what I was gonna say. I don't mean to be going off on a rant like this. It's just maybe that wound's a little close to the heart right now. And that's true, Sci-Fi. If it was a strike, I wouldn't be streaming right now. It's a claim. That's right. An automatic claim. I 100% get those backwards all the time. And Sci-Fi saying, so am I using my own program now for the stills or another one? So once the stills are created, it creates a video, and I just load that video into OBS. So whenever I'm ready for the stills to go, I say, hey, OBS, play this video, and it just plays through it. And Springtime was saying he was watching the 90s UPN alien abduction TV movie. I think I was great in it. True cult movie. Yeah, I did see that. And I did see the individual that you referenced as Professor Brainy Specs, and I thought that was funny. I do remember that. It's one of those things where I'm like, surely no one looks at this and goes, this is a legit video. Surely everyone knew, like, this was supposed to be a Blair Witch kind of production quality video, where everything was on VHS tape and it was all grainy and digital. We were able to digitally zoom and enhance things, and now things have come out, and we have a TV reporter. Like, it doesn't even say, like, this is Channel 4, Fox News reporter. No, it just says, this is Jenny so-and-so, a TV reporter.
It's like nobody was serious to look at that video you posted in Discord and think that was legit footage from the animated series.
Anyway, getting some shots fired up in here tonight. Wow. Hey, Guyver VK368, saying hi, hello, welcome to the show. We're gonna get going here. I have ranted long enough. Let me just for you drop the link to SciTube once again, and this is going to be the only other time that I actually put this in, because oh gosh, YouTube can get upset about doing this too much. And I'm actually dual streaming on Twitch and YouTube, so last time putting that in. But if you want to come and watch SeaQuest DSV Season 2 Episode 15 Dreamweaver, now's the time to jump over to this, and we're all going to watch this together as John and I provide some commentary and thoughts about it. So I am going to hit the play button as soon as I remind you all about my predictions. Last week I predicted based on the name I was wrong. Last week, based on the name Dreamweaver, I said this episode will be about a telepath who can enter people's dreams, and John mentioned that it was going to be a very sci-fi kind of guest star, and I said, okay, well, ooh, who could that be? It must be Marana Sirtis, Deanna Troy, that she's going to come and be this person who's a telepath and go into people's dreams. So that was my prediction. Let's see how completely wrong. It won't take more than 6 seconds before we see just how wrong I was, at the very least, about the guest star. So,
although there is a Star Trek Easter egg in this episode that Matthew completely missed the first time he watched it. So be on the lookout for that as well.
That's true. Be on the lookout for this. And Guyver's saying that he never played that game. So there is a SeaQuest game, but this is not the game. This is the TV show SeaQuest. Came out in 1993. So we're season 2. So we're 94 at this point. We'll see how this goes. And so I'm going to get a quick 5 countdown. So if you're in the future and you're watching on Peacock TV and you want to sync up the watch times, this is when to hit the play button, everyone. Here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hit that play button, and hopefully I haven't done something incredibly stupid, like made it so, I don't know, my audio's piping through right now. I bet I was right there. I bet I 100% was. Yeah, Tom's, I caught it. There we go. Now we shouldn't have it. So yeah, you can see that it was not Miranda Sirtis. It was Mark Hamill.
Yeah, much better choice.
An extremely better choice.
Yes.
And apparently he's also blind, by the way. He's talking about how beautiful the galaxy is, but he's completely blind. And he talks about how, they're just little dots far, far away, and yet our eyes are drawn to the twinkling of them. It's like there's something to which to hang our hopes, and somehow this counts as the most poetic thing this woman has ever heard, because this is really wooing her, and she's wondering why she has a telescope if he's blind, and he says, "Oh, it came with the house." But she looks through the telescope, and apparently there's a asteroid. It's kind of actually, yes, it's still an asteroid. It's in space at this point, hurtling toward the Earth. And here we see the second big reveal of this episode. Bridger has shaved. It took me a couple looks to realize what was so wrong. Like, I was watching, like, what's wrong about this moment? The thing that was wrong is that Bridger is beardless. Excuse me. It's not a good look for him.
Yeah, you'll see that go back and forth a few times as well, because they're showing the episodes out of order.
Now, season 2 started off with a bearded Bridger.
Yes, it did.
They really should have just kept it throughout the whole season.
Yeah, I agree with you. Of course, I'm a big fan of beards myself.
True. We are a little biased toward beards here. Guyver VK is saying, is this frame by frame episode without sound? If you want to watch the actual episode with us, you can click on that link I dropped, the side2.be, and come to our viewing room, and that will let you actually view the episode along with us. Otherwise, we do provide steals as we talk about what's going on in the episode, and you can certainly go to Peacock TV, create your own free account there, and watch it, all 3 seasons of SeaQuest, as you like. Well, Thomas, yes, breaking news, asteroids in space. I was wondering about that only because it is now a meteorite as it comes into the Earth's atmosphere. And what we've been talking over is that this object was out in the Kuiper belt, and they said it's something weird. I'm hoping I'm saying it the way they said it. They said it's very strangely in this episode, but it was able to reach the Earth, and they said 16 minutes. Now, I had to look this up, but apparently, if you were supposed to go from, I think it's Neptune, which is 30 AUs away from the sun, to the sun itself, it would take 4.5 hours at the speed of light, I believe is what it said. So this device, or this asteroid, now meteor, moved through the solar system far greater than the speed of light. It was able to go from the outermost edges of our solar system to the Earth in a mere 16 minutes. This thing was booking. And they explained that the reason they think it was able to go this fast is because it was made of absolute matter. Something that they thought was only theoretical, but is 100% a legit thing in this episode.
Mm-hmm. And they're trying to recover the, I think they actually referred to it as a comet, but whatever it is, it seems to be dissolving in the water.
Thomas thought steals or stills. I'm a Texan. I'm allowed to be lazy with my pronunciation. So much like Alka-Seltzer, you drop this thing in the ocean, it goes plop, plop, fizz, fizz, and is gone. But oh, what a relief it is.
I don't know if we mentioned yet, but Bridger's astronaut friend, Scott, is back as well.
That's right. Kent McCord, I believe is his name.
Yes.
Who, I say this every time, but he also played on Farscape as the main character's dad. And you only get to see him a handful of times throughout the entire series, but it always makes me real happy when I see him because I love Farscape so much. And Darwin. Darwin will be back in this episode.
Indeed he will.
What is a meteor? A meteor is an asteroid that's in the atmosphere, I think is the only real difference there. And they're still talking about, or they're talking to Mark Hamill's character, whose name is Tobias, and they're really upset. They're like, it's like this asteroid never even was here. Surface temperatures are back to normal. There's just no evidence of anything being here. And Scott is really upset because he thinks that with this asteroid being gone, his chance of faster than light, like he's really hoping that he'd be able to examine this and figure out how he could move at speeds fast enough to leave the solar system. And now that it's gone, he thinks that he's never, ever going to get that chance. And Mark Hamill's pointing out that, look, we stand upon the backs of giants. Newton, Da Vinci, Armstrong. You went to Mars, Scott. Your name is going to be recorded in history. And he goes, well, I don't want to just be another person in history. I want to be the one actually doing it. And they spent the past 6 hours looking for stuff, and there's nothing. It's just completely evaporated. So they're hoping maybe if they could at least get some fragment of it, things would be okay. But there's nothing.
Well, Thomas, in the episode, they call it a comet. I don't know if that's completely accurate or not, but that's the term they're using.
And Thomas he's just giving a hard time. I recognize your hard times, Thomas. Is it a meteor, meteorite, asteroid, or comet? And I agree with Sci-Fi. Yes. Although, I mean, technically speaking, I don't really think I know the difference between a meteor and a meteorite.
I know there are different terms based on whether it's in the atmosphere, or whether it's in the surface, or whether it's in space. I don't remember which is which.
You know, I guess maybe that's the difference. Maybe I wouldn't be at all if I'm surprised to hear I'm getting it backwards. I bet it's an asteroid. An asteroid is just a rock sitting there, like the asteroid belt. A comet is something that's actually orbiting the sun. And then meteor and meteorite, I wonder if those are the two, the difference between being in space and being in the atmosphere. And Sci-Fi saying is, ite has landed, meteor is airborne. There we go. So meteorite when it lands. And here's Darwin. Darwin is back. You know he's going to do something important in this episode.
In fact, he already has an important message for the crew.
And he's saying, and Sci-Fi saying it's an asteroid before it hits the atmosphere. Okay. So he can't get out. He's stuck inside the ship. It's too oily. There's like a blanket around the ship, Darwin explains. And they're thinking maybe it's an oil slick. He wants O'Neill to somehow magically know what Darwin is saying. And Darwin is again, he's telling him what's up. He's saying SeaQuest brings new life. And apparently all communications are blocked off at this point. Whenever they're trying to ping out, all the communications just get routed right back in. We have Piccolo trying to communicate with the bridge. There's some sort of substance over in C deck. Except even going just from C deck to the bridge, they don't have reliable communications. Tom is saying that meteor becomes a meteorite when it enters the atmosphere. And Sci-Fi wants to know, are landed asteroids called asteroidites? Clearly,
Good question.
Clearly, I'm much like Mark Hamill's character in this episode. I am just the blind trying to lead the blind on this. But fortunately, so fortunately for us, this strange substance just so happened to materialize immediately adjacent to the sonogram machine. So they're able to do a sonogram.
That's quite convenient.
They're able to do a sonogram. And the fact that, like, Bridger, his mind goes, you know what? Sonogram. That's what we need to do first test. And
Well, he's not the captain for nothing.
he really is. Man's a genius. But yeah, there's a life form in there. We're seeing like this proto-womb on the deck of the SeaQuest. And Ford is pointing out that while we don't know what sort of baby it is, we do know that it's an unknown biologic that is currently dragging them to the seafloor. Now that they have this weird blanket over them, as Darwin puts it, they can't blow the ballasts. They're totally isolated, and they're actually sinking. Something about this this baby cocoon thing is zapping power from the SeaQuest. Springtime wants to know, why don't they put Darwin in a missile and fire him at the alien invaders? They do it a couple times. I mean, they don't fire Darwin out, but they have opened up the torpedo bay, like flooded the tubes and let Darwin swim out of it. Which, when you stop to think about it, that would imply that Darwin has an ability to swim in. Like, they didn't show them loading Darwin into the tube and flooding it. There's just like a port that they open up, and Darwin's swimming chambers just connects into the torpedo tubes.
Okay, there you go.
Oh, red shirts. They're so expendable. They hear a growling, hissing noise, and they go, you know what we should do? There's this really cool movie that came out. It came out like 4 years ago. It's called Alien. And I think we should go right up to this. And they get burst all over. Like the water breaks and they are in its direct line of fire. And we get this creature that looks like... I don't know if you've ever played Oddworld, I think it is. It was a PS2 game, or Odyssey, Abe's Adventure. It was this platformer game where you were this little creature. You look just like this creature, or that looks just like the creature from Oddworld, Odyssey World, something like that.
Oddworld definitely sounds like a game you would play.
It really does. Sci-Fi, yes, Oddworld, Abe's Odyssey. I feel like that creature looks a lot like it. So SeaQuest has lost power, but they at least can see that their weapons appear to have full power. So even though the SeaQuest batteries have been drained, thankfully the weapon cartridges have not had their stuff drained out. Springtime wants to know, isn't that one for Gray Buddy from back in the day? The Oddsworld? Or are you talking about the PS1? I don't remember if it was a PS1 or PS2 game. I thought it was PS2. So everyone is, loading out, lock and loaded, ready to go. Scott insists that he's going to be part of this mission as we try and figure this alien. So while everyone else is, pretty much decked to the nines, he's going to go in a polo with a handgun. Good on him. Not the smartest move, I don't think. If I'm going to go fight an alien invader, I want to be dressed in something a little bit more impressive than khakis and a polo. Just saying.
But he's rocking that polo, though.
He is. All he needs is a beard, to be honest.
That's right.
I guess beards aren't approved. He is an astronaut.
Yeah, I suppose it gets away with the oxygen mask or something.
So this is definitely giving me alien vibes. They got motion trackers. The lighting is out. They got their little flashlights on their gun. You had an alien burst out of a pod. I see that little motion track. That is 100% lifted out of Alien. Or maybe Aliens. I want to say they did an Alien also.
That I wouldn't know.
You're only missing some beeping right now, by the way, people. As I walk through this corridor, the only thing you can really hear is the tracker going beep, 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 beep.
With very intense beeping, though.
True. I mean, there's some nice background music, don't get me wrong.
I'm looking for Ortiz because apparently he didn't show up with the rest of the crew.
And we see some very, very bloody handprints all over the wall. And Ortiz's flight jacket, overall,
What?
shirt,
Yeah, overall or whatever. Yeah.
So this is actually a very intelligent alien. He distracts them by playing with a grate at the front, and while they're blindly shooting at the grate, he jumps over to another grate and just, Mission Impossibles this guy up in the ductwork. Thomas wants to know, what is an interspatial flexure? Is that what Tom tried to fly into in the episode Alice? Was that a gravity fountain?
He also asked, what's a graviton ellipse? I recall that's a thing that eats astronauts.
Are these both terms from Farscape? You expect me to get the name of something right? I think we all know I will not be remembering any kind of name. I mean, how many different names have I called you, Thomas? I think I've called you Timothy Potts, Thomas Pitts. I'm notoriously bad about type. Now, to be fair, I mean, Potts and the O and I are right next to each other on the keyboard.
I mean, you even called me Jarwin before.
That's true. I did call you Darwin and Jarwin.
Jarwin, yes.
Because quantum.
Well, apparently you were close. It was from Voyager, but it was from the episode Counterpoint, the interspatial flexure, I believe.
Oh, what they were calling the wormhole for the telepath species to escape from that region of space where telepaths were not liked.
And the graviton ellipse was also from Voyager, where it ate that spaceship that was at Mars.
I don't remember. Yes. The one where 7 of 9 kind of had a humanity moment as she sees the first, or it was one of the first people to Mars. Guy got pulled into the very bad special effects, to be honest, but like it went into a subspace and it would randomly pop out and there's like an eye of the storm, and she downloaded all his logs because Chakotay was really, really interested in this guy, like personal hero.
Yes. For this one episode only, he was his hero.
Yes, but
never heard about him before or since.
Chakotay was quasi an archaeologist at a few episodes throughout the series. Or at the very least, he showed respect a couple times toward it. But hey, things are actually happening now. We found a cocoon, and it was full of random knickknacks. A boot, some more of Ortiz's stuff. I think it was his tags. Maybe his boots had his name in it, which, I mean, that'd be interesting. Thomas, he remembers. This is a fake. He's a fake. So they're trying to get power back aboard the SeaQuest, and they've come up with the idea that in emergencies, the comm lines can actually be powered from the satellite, which I do remember there is a TV show called Beyond 2000, which is talking about all the cool technology we're going to see in the years after 2000. And one of the things they actually talked about was the idea of beaming energy from space, where we could have these giant satellites with all these solar panels and then microwave energy beam it down to basically satellite receivers. You know, it'd be covering a huge area. But I thought for sure we'd be having this. So the idea of satellites beaming power down wasn't like this out of left field idea. This was actually something they thought was viable at the time. It's ridiculous, but it's something they thought.
And so now Henderson has to crawl through the Jeffers tubes to get to this communication station so she can tap into this power.
And Lewis, he offers to go. In fact, he says, I should be the one going. And, you know, she rolls her eyes at him. Like, she doesn't come out and say, what, because you're a guy and I'm a girl. But it's quasi-implied there. But without her being condescending about it. Like, no, I can do this. She has a lot of flashlights, but she is ready to get this wired up to get power. Pops off a panel and starts to wire things up. So our other crew members, we got Ford, Jim, and Scott, not a crew member, but he's there. They are at the maglev device shuttle thing. And this is where the trail run cold with the alien. There's no way for him to be anywhere else, but they can't find him. And Scott's like, what about this emergency access panel? And Ford says, well, even without power, there is a mechanical alarm that would sound throughout the entire ship if this door was opened. But no, you should have looked behind the cocoon. The panel has been destroyed, which kind of a bad placement for your emergency panel.
Yeah.
But hey, what are you gonna do? Now, have I missed the Star Trek reference yet?
No, it's closer to the end of the episode.
Okay. But Scott gives his begrudging admiration to the alien. He's like, well, he's smarter than I thought. Now, Dagwood had an interesting conversation with Lewis earlier in the episode where he talked about how he thought the aliens were friendly, that they were our friends, because you may recall this is the third alien episode. Yeah, third alien episode we've had in SeaQuest. And the first two, they were on friendly terms with them. Now, Dagwood does find Ortiz. His leg got ripped up. But Dagwood made the comment that this smells like a bad alien. And sure enough, he can smell this alien. And we get our first Worf moment from Dagwood, where we see that Dagwood is here just to get beat up by someone to showcase how strong the other person is. Except they do it better than the Worf moments. Like, I will give SeaQuest props for this. Dagwood holds his own. Worf and Wolverine, to a certain extent, they existed literally just the bad guy shows up and you throw Worf across the screen to show that, oh yeah, this guy's really tough. And it happens so often. Whereas Dagwood actually had a pretty decent fight with the alien, but at the end he was legitimately overwhelmed. And, kind of it seems like Dagwood was just so innocent that he couldn't cope with the barrage he was getting. Like, if you saw him at one point, he was just holding up his hands like, whoa, this is too much. Like, he legit got overwhelmed emotionally by it more so than just being overwhelmed through raw physical strength. Although the alien definitely was coming out on top of this fight.
Well, by the way, Thomas says, how dare the designers not think an alien cocoon will be placed there in the maglev?
You have to think about these things when you're designing emergency equipment, Thomas.
So they're rebooting the communication system, then their last message from Mark Hamill is showing on the screen.
Which, the last message was where he was making out with his intern?
Yeah, something like that.
Springtime's saying, so I'm assuming that the alien is friendly. I think it would have been interesting if that was where they went after all this, but no, this alien is definitely not friendly. Henderson tries to get away, shoves over this piece of equipment on him, tries to jump up, but 100% gets pulled back down. But thankfully she has a pair of needle-nose pliers and stabs him. And then Henderson and O'Neill are running toward each other through the ductwork. And they think, oh, we did it. He's safe. We got her arm. But no, the alien just grabs her and drags her down through it. Which, I mean, I don't know what he was thinking. It's good that you grabbed her arm, but, like, keep going. Don't stop. There's an alien coming. But hey, you know what? You get emotionally overwhelmed sometimes. It's okay.
He was trying to be heroic anyway.
Yeah. I'll also say this. I wish that the conduits they made for working on wiring and stuff the Jeffrey tubes, the crawl spaces. I wish in real life that's what tech people had to work with. Like I have never in my entire life seen anything this spacious. You're usually like dealing with space just big enough for you, and that's luxurious. Usually all you have is, you know, every couple 100 feet you'll have a little box, and it's called your pool junction, and you just got to make sure that you pull your wires through, and you have to tie a string to it so that when you're done pulling it through, you can pull the string back through, so the next time you're having to pull wires through this 100 or so feet of conduit, you have something to pull it through. And it's a rough thing. You can easily break your wires trying to pull it through cramped conduit like that.
Yes, Thomas, those would be the Jeffrey Combs tubes.
Springtime saying, that's what you say about all aliens, even Alf and the friend buddy from that movie's Alien? Friend buddy? Friend buddy. I don't get the second reference. Alf, I definitely understand. But friend buddy alien from Alien movie. Are you talking about the face huggers? Or is there another Alien movie I'm unaware of?
Meanwhile, they emptied Darwin's swimming tubes to flush out the alien, and they found him. So they're going to flood the tubes again.
And of course, Piccolo, he's well aware of every blind spot in the ship. He was talking about, there's a blind spot somewhere around here that I sometimes hide in to get out of kitchen duty, according to rumor. So fortunately, Henderson was still alive, and when they started to flood the tubes, they saw her going by. And Piccolo saves the day. And there's this weird algae scum on the surface of the wading pool now, or moon pool, whatever they call it.
Yeah. And she claims the alien was flushed out the ballast tubes.
Springtime saying the 1979. I don't know who you're talking about. Friend Buddy the alien?
I don't know.
So there's this weird cocoon substance that's just all through the tubes, but it looks like it's finally starting to break up. They got the vid link up. They're able to get power to the ship, and they're kind of ready to just blow the ballasts and get back up to the surface now that they're getting power back. And they thought Henderson, or they thought I thought the alien was blowing up the ship, but no, the alien was somehow able to get into the launch bay and just bust right out of the ship. They pull up the security cam, and what do we see? We see Henderson slamming on the door, and it quickly morphs back into the alien. So apparently these aliens have the ability to morph into different people they've seen. Or is it something else?
Possibly.
And again, we see Mark Hamill's character, and Scott's kind of putting some pieces together that the video transmission was looping through when the alien attacked Henderson. I don't know how Mark Hamill got through this next line of dialogue with a straight face. He's talking about absolute matter. He's talking about how mass and density exists in space, and now Henderson shows up. She's like, well, pure density only exists in absolute matter.
Well, the man did used to work with George Lucas, so I guess he's probably used to dialogue that's not at its finest.
True. And Henderson is definitely dressed to impress, which is somewhat unnecessary for a blind man, I would argue. But to be fair, she may not have known that he was blind. I wish I could give justice to this dialogue being done right now, where they're trying to explain how absolute matter and absolute density cannot be together, but at the same time be together. But now she's changing gears and saying, look, I actually just read it in the book, and I was just trying to impress you by quoting this back to you. And Hamill asks, are you as thirsty as I am, Miss Henderson? Which this did somewhat predate the usage of the word thirsty to talk about arousal, but it is extremely appropriate nonetheless.
Indeed. Yes, Thomas, it does sound like Matthew is saying that women only dress nicely to subdue men.
I would say that she specifically is dressing very nicely in the hopes of seducing him, yes. We did see that Ford is here, leading a team to hopefully rescue Hamill's character. And Henderson, true to her usual character, is being quite the instigator in this moment. And there's this nice, like, blanket thing going on here. I'm not sure why he has this in his office unless he's really that much of a playboy.
I get the impression that he gets a lot of use out of it.
Oh, not even his office. This is in the lecture still.
In the classroom, yeah.
But Henderson transforms into the alien, and Hamill rolls his eyes. Like, he's very much not impressed at this moment, and throws the alien across the classroom. And Scott's like, "What? How are you able to do this? This makes no sense." And Hamill, he sees the gig is up, and he transforms into an alien himself. Dun dun dun.
Dun dun.
It really was doing that in the music in the background. But fortunately, this alien does not have the top knot, so we can 100% tell the difference between the two of them.
Oh, yeah.
And Hamill, he says, look, you guys are not in danger. The only danger you are in is if you get in the way of my execution. And, Ford is mostly concerned with, is Henderson still human? He says, yes, I can smell my own kind from a mile away. Her soul is absolutely still human. She's just being, like, possessed by the alien. And he is from a world called Hyperion, or Hyberian, to avoid copyright issues. And he explains that he escaped from his world, or fled from his world to escape execution. And James is like, well, you could have been a criminal for all I know. Because, yes, I was a criminal. Hyperion is a planet of conquest, forever at war. And I taught people to not just be expansionists, to be peaceful. And that got me branded as a traitor. So I implanted my embryo, which is, I guess, that asteroid, meteorite, whatever we decide to call it, comet thing. And beyond that, the rest of his story is true, that he crash landed on the planet and he possessed this astronomer's son. And beyond that, he's what he's always presented himself as, Tobias. So these naturalists were investigating the Serengeti. The comet landed next to them. But unfortunately, the exposure to the comet killed the parents. Like, it gave them cancer. He was able to save the child. And it's funny, he presents this like, oh, me possessing the child was a good thing because I had natural immunity, so the child lived. But it's like, well, yes, the child lived from cancer. You saved him. But if he hadn't been exposed to your comet in the first place, he wouldn't have gotten cancer. So I don't feel like you're really in the clear on this one. But this is a soldier from his planet. They're not very bright, but they are very strong. And yes, Erevik, not Hyperion, but Hyberion, because Hyperion, that was another planet in like a series of books, I want to say.
Although I think Hyperion is actually from Greek mythology originally, so maybe this one to be a little bit different.
Then it probably is Hyperion. One of the 12 Titan children of Gaia and Uranus. Okay. There is another... There's a Hyperion book, I want to say. It's kind of like the Tales of Canterbury. Yes. Hyperion is a book. It was a very good book, I might say. I've read it once. It was written by Dan Simmons, and it follows the same format of the Tales of Canterbury, where you had these different people, they come together, you hear their stories, and over the course of telling of the stories, you find out that they were all somehow related in some way. Like, they all came together. They thought they were perfect strangers, but no, they had a theme woven between all of them that connected them. Thomas, of my what? What did I say? Or what did it sound like I said? Unfortunately, Jim and Ford got caught. Because apparently these aliens have telekinesis. And up till now, every time the alien wanted to take on the alien form, all he did was like shapeshift. But this time, when it looked like a security guard was blocking the way, when he transformed into his alien form, he had to ditch his humanoid possession. Which, I mean, lucky it happened like that, because now Henderson's free.
Oh, and by the way, the Star Trek reference is coming up in just a minute. Be on the lookout for a dedication plaque.
Okay. I'd say you're making it too easy for me not to miss it, but I mean,
No.
I'm probably still gonna miss it. And Hamill is just getting the snot kicked out of him until he does the quick dodge. Oh,
I'll show it a close up again in a minute.
I saw that. It said Nomad on it.
There it is. Yep.
Nice. Yes, I 100% would have missed that every time. And you can even see the original form of the Nomad probe on the base station there.
It also says launched in 2002, which is the same thing they said in the original series episode.
That's great. Now, Scott is upset that the alien turned himself into ash. He's like, don't you guys ever leave anything behind to be studied? And Hamill's character says, well, I think I got something better for you. And it's a spaceship. And Lewis wants to know, how did you achieve absolute mass? But before he can answer, Scott gets uppity. He's like, well, more importantly, how could you let me suffer all these years trying to figure things out when you had a spaceship right here? And Tobias says, look, I like it here. I like the people. I want to stay. I mean, you've got a lot to learn about interstellar travel, though. So they're trying to get Tobias to stay, but he's realized now that the hunter came, it's only a matter of time before he gets caught again, and it's better for him to take off into the stars. And Lewis says, well, where are you exactly going to go? After all, you're blind. And Hamill says, well, you know, honestly, I was hoping that Scott would drive. Which, I'm kind of thrown for a loss at this point. Like, you would think that, okay, he's blind apparently in his human form for some reason, but he isn't blind in his alien form. He has no, like, he has no reason to stay as in his human form at this point. But this is what Scott has dreamed of his whole life. So yeah, he's gonna do it. A Sci-Fi Nation saying that Bridger was better in 2010, the year we made contact, the sequel to 2001. If he had a beard in it, I'll agree. And Scott is saying, you know, I've never realized until now how similar you are to Tobias. Kind of channeling his inner Shatner for this line. And this might be it. This might be the last time we ever see Scott as he gets into a spaceship with his longtime teacher / alien spaceship. Which, I mean, this alien, he was quite the gigolo. And I'm not going to say they get beamed up, but they definitely step into a light, and it does appear as if their molecules get transported somewhere. Or not transported, but relocated from one position to another. And Lewis and Bridger are left standing there saying, I wonder if he'll come back. I hope he comes back. It all depends on what he finds out there. Now, do you have any idea how to get out of here? And no, none whatsoever.
Nope,
both of them are kind of unfortunately stuck. And off they go somewhere, I guess, to go wander around lost for a little while. But the slick is gone, the blanket is gone. SeaQuest is able to move again, and that's it. That's our episode with Marco Sanchez, aka Ortiz, talking about the moray eel and how the Egyptians thought they were mystical and the Romans thought they were pretty cool as well, and that their gaping smile was apparently something they needed to do to breathe. Well, that's a moray. The end. So, John, what did you think of today's episode?
Well, I liked it for the most part, although I say that most of the time. We saw Darwin back, and we had Mark Hamill being very smooth. I mean, you said there was a lot of alien vibes. I mean, I have to take your word for that. But I'm not familiar with aliens. But, you know, it was this tense atmosphere. And they're all wandering around the ship in the dark.
If you ever watched Alien or its sequel Aliens, you go, yeah, this is so lifted right off of it. You got this creature bursting out of a pod. Now, to be fair, in Aliens, it's an egg-shaped pod, and it's a tiny creature. But the tiny creature leads to a big creature being born. And at that point, you're crawling through Jeffrey tube type things. You're following with a motion tracker. It was all there, definitely. That said, I mean, there's certain ideas that if you want a cramped atmosphere, you're going to be stealing from other things. And there's just no way to get around. You're on a spaceship type environment or submarine size of 2 football fields, trying to track an alien creature in the dark. Yeah, there's going to be some overlap. Sci-Fi Nation is saying that if you want to watch Farscape, Resolute Germ is starting it this Sunday at 8 p.m. Oh, very cool. And Sci-Fi, I want to say that Captain Trek was watching it with Stone Loki. Is that his name? I think his name was Stone Loki. I don't know if they're still doing that. They were, at least for a while. And it wasn't a watch party. They'd watch like 2 or 3 episodes at a time and then talk about it once a week. And Sci-Fi saying they're all around us. Where? I don't see them. They're on top of us. Exactly. Yes. From a quote from Alien. Or Aliens. I forget which. Was there anything in the episode that was kind of detracted from its overall goodness for you?
Well, I think all the stuff with absolute matter was complete nonsense. But yeah, I still kind of enjoyed it for how goofy it was, what that was worth.
Yeah, I get it. You can't say warp travel. That's copyrighted. I don't think you can say transwarp. That's probably copyrighted. I'm not sure what Lost in Space did, but that's copyrighted. Like, you get to a point where, like, how can I explain faster than light travel without using any of these words that we associate with faster than light travel? I can't talk about warp speed. I can't talk about well, I guess you could talk about wormholes. That's not a copyrighted idea. But there's so many things that we take for granted in our everyday vocabulary that if I was creating a TV show or movie, I wouldn't be able to say, because some loser like CBS would crack down on me. But I mean, you know, they probably could have found a better way to describe it other than absolute matter, creating absolute density. There's a lot of hand waving. Like, either don't talk about it at all or think about it more when you talk about it. They unfortunately hit a bad middle ground on that point, for sure.
I think they should just not even bother to try to, to explain it. Say it's just some mysterious thing we don't understand and just leave it at that.
Yeah, or even, you know, okay, Mark Hamill's supposed to be, or is, an alien, and he's trying to give them subtle hints about these things. Maybe talk about a way that you can manipulate gravity to bend space-time by creating a dense enough, like, not a black hole, but, you know, kind of dance around it. But the idea of absolute matter creating absolute density, which affects gravity, that's where they went just like a little too far on it. And Sci-Fi Nation is saying the Alcubierre drive, is that, what's that one from?
Yeah, that's an actual theory. Yeah, I've heard of it before. I don't know the details.
Oh, okay, an actual theory, but then again, so is warp drive. They both have been mathematically proven. We just don't have the tech. Well, I wonder about how I could say mathematically proven at that point. I guess there's a lot of things that are mathematically proven that are impossible. I guess I come down more on I like practical math as opposed to theoretical math. Once we get to theoretical math, it almost becomes a pseudoscience to me. I mean, no one understands things like quantum mechanics. Even the people who have doctorates in quantum mechanics usually admit that no one understands quantum mechanics. We kind of have this guideline, and most of the time the guidelines more or less follow what actually happens, but sometimes it doesn't, and you know, it's a thing we deal with or ignore. It's all quantum. For me, gosh, how did I feel about this episode? It was all right. I mean, I guess I'm not an overly huge fan of the more actiony they're getting. Like, it seems like each episode they're getting more and more actiony. And I really liked the way they were going in season 1, which it was more cerebral, if you will. It had action for sure, but it also had a lot more contemplativeness. And like even earlier in this season, when you had the follow-up episode to the first Aliens, you got a lot more thinking about what was going on, whereas this one was just, here's an alien, it's here to kill you, and now you have to fight it. So that was a little deterring to me. But if from the get-go SeaQuest had been a action show, I think this would have been a perfectly good episode for it. I think it would have fit in fine. Things that really deterred, or there were deterrents for me. Yeah, we've talked about it. The science they tried to pull, but that was a minor complaint. It's just a minor complaint you can talk about for a major time. So yeah, it was decent. It was decent.
Well, there was a brief bit when Lewis was feeling guilty about Henderson being captured because he volunteered to go instead, and Bridger asked to talk to him to calm him down. So like that, they found in moments where Bridger and Lucas interacted when they're in the middle of a crisis.
Mm-hmm. Sci-Fi Nation is saying the first step in understanding quantum theory is admitting that no one understands quantum theory. Pretty much, yeah. Springtime wants to know, the big question is, am I an otter going undercover as a human? No comment. And Arvik Saunders saying, yeah, this episode was okay enough, or okay, even though we didn't get to see Darwin saving the ship behind the scenes. You know, Darwin still, in a way, led to... I mean, he unfortunately, he did get sidelined once the tubes were drained. But leading up to that, he did give them just a couple key points of information, tipped them off to the fact that the ship was becoming isolated before it, things started to shut down. But you're right, he did get sidelined by the end. Well, John, you got any final thoughts for this week's episode?
Yeah, I thought it was enjoyable for the most part. I will say is some of the events in this episode do have consequences down the road.
Oh. So maybe we'll see some more of our intrepid spaceman Scott Kurt, aka Kent McCord, I do believe. And maybe we'll see Mark Hamill come back. I don't know.
Possibly.
Well, with that, guys, let's go ahead and wrap up this week's SeaQuest. Thanks for joining us as always, and we will see you next week. Oh, wait, you know what? I need to do my little prediction here. Let's see. I'm gonna cut myself off in the middle of saying goodbye because that's the way I roll. Let's see. Next week is going to be season 2, episode 16, Alone. Ooh, Alone. Okay. We got a couple possibilities for this. First of all, this is going to be my prediction. It is going to be the standard sci-fi episode where the character finds himself increasingly alone. And we've seen this in episodes like TNG, where Beverly Crusher was the only one who realized that people were disappearing off the Enterprise. And it turned out she was in like this subspace vacuole type thing. And I want to say that that was an episode where we saw the Traveler briefly again.
Yes.
Yeah. And, he worked with Wesley to get Beverly out of there. There's an episode of a TV show called Eureka that had this, where, again, people one by one started to disappear. And it always turns out like it's something mundane. Okay, Beverly getting trapped in a subspace vacuole, not so mundane. That's actually kind of a big thing. But like with Eureka, he had gotten like a concussion and then put on a virtual headset that was supposed to be a virtual shrink So his daughter was supposed to be going to a psychiatrist, and there's like an advanced computer program that she could virtually go see a psychiatrist. And he did it, but it wasn't set for his brain waves, and he had a concussion, and so he got stuck in there, thought it was real. So we see this idea pop up throughout Sci-Fi series. And Sci-Fi saying it's a subspace warp bubble, not vacuole. Excuse me. Subspace
get your terms
bubble.
right, Matthew.
Oh, gosh. So I think this is what we're going to see. We're either going to see that idea where you have the one character who is the only one that aware that something's going on and they're becoming increasingly isolated, or maybe what we'll see is something more like they're stuck all by themselves somewhere. Like maybe they're bored one of the mini subs and it gets broken down, so they're stuck in a cave and they're all by themselves and dealing with being isolated like that. I'll throw out one last idea, which I think is me cheating with 3 predictions here. But I'll say that maybe this will be a Dagwood-centric episode where it explores him dealing with the idea that he is alone, that he is the only one of his kind aboard the SeaQuest, and is dealing with that. So those are my 2.5 predictions, or 1.5, because the first one, they're just variations of the same theme. Usually you have the character who's by themselves hallucinating by the end, but it's the same basic idea. So there's my 1.5 predictions. Next week, we will find out how horribly wrong I am in my predictions, but I look forward to it. Guys, thank you for hanging out with us tonight, and we will see you next week.
Bye.
Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please be sure to hit that like button and share it with your friends. If you haven't subscribed yet, I hope you will, and be sure to hit that bell icon to be notified of all the updates I do on this channel. If you want to support the work I'm doing here, then I hope you'll consider becoming one of my Patreons, where you'll get early access to all kinds of videos. And until the next time, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May he cause his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Amen.